Hello there, this is the brand new Quansheng UV-K1, the replacement for the legendary UV-K5. Now with the stock firmware, this transceiver covers the 2 meters and 70 centimeters band along with airband reception. Now in this video, I'm going to perform a quick teardown and RF performance review. If you'd like to learn more about its functionality, check out the absolutely excellent functional reviews by OM0ET and M0FXB. I've left their links in the description. And if you'd like Father Christmas to leave you one of these under your tree, I've also included Electro Banana trusted links in the description. The first thing that hit me when I held this radio is premium quality. But do note this is the premium model, the K18. There's a K11 which has more plastic on the front. So this is the premium version, which is a bit more expensive. It really feels well crafted with that aluminium front, attention to aesthetic detail. It's a far cry from the kind of the Radtel RT950 and 880. It just feels different. It feels like a different league of product. There you can see the PTT button there and the program button underneath. Even the texture on the back of the battery feels premium. You'd have to hold it to see what I mean. And then you got the Kenwood jack and USB charging and data cable underneath. On the top there you got the same knob as on the TK11, the LED. And the antenna's a short stubby one, a bit like on the new Baofeng Mini, as I'll compare a bit later. In terms of size, you can see that it's kind of the same width as the UK5, but a bit shorter. You see it's about the same thickness as well. Now there is an extended battery for this, which I'll cover later, which when you add it, kind of makes it the same size as the UK5. But nevertheless, it's still a very compact radio. You can see the LCD screen is about the same size as a K5. So just check the capacity. Hang on a second. Get it in focus. Okay, so we got 7.4 volts nominal at 1,400 milliamp hours. Not bad for such a compact battery. Then we can see the labeling in the back. You can see there we got 2 meters, 70 centimeters. 5 watts power output. We'll check that later. But look at the build. It looks really, really nice. Now, even though you've got a relatively small battery, bear in mind that the screen is just a monochrome LCD display. So it's not going to be as power hungry as the colored displays that you've got in a lot of recent radios, and you need to have on in sunlight. And this one, you're not going to need to have the backlight on in sunlight, so that's going to save you some power. So let's just do another size comparison. So here you can see next to the UK5 on the left, and there on the fantastic TID H3 Plus on the right there, you can see it's kind of the same thickness. The H3 Plus is a bit longer. Kind of the same size screen as well. Now let's compare it with the new Baofeng Mini. Now look at that. It's about the same height. Can you see that? It's a bit fatter. It's eaten a few more donuts than the Baofeng, and the antenna's about the same length as well. About the same thickness, I'd say. But the build quality sets it aside. When Mrs. Electro Bananas saw the Baofeng Mini, she said, "Is that a toy? Is that a real radio?" I said, "Yeah, it's a real radio. It looks like a toy to me." So that's the thing, right? Because the Quansheng is a really premium build, and it shows that from the outset. Whereas the Baofeng looks a bit like a toy. Now the antenna supplied with the original UV-K5 was absolutely excellent. I often use it as a reference to compare other antennas with. It's really good on 2 meters and 70 centimeters of low SWR, and I wanted to compare it with the one supplied with the K1. But I had a bit of a disaster in the Electro Bananas workshop. I was actually measuring the input impedance of the antenna ports of various transceivers with my nano VNA, and I think I accidentally pressed the PTT button and blasted 10 watts into my nano VNA, so it's no more. So if you haven't subscribed already, your subscription would really help me fund the replacement. Thank you so much. Now let's see how we do with power output. So first of all, 2 meters, 144 megahertz, we're getting around 36, I'm going to go with 36.4 dBm. Then at 70 centimeters, we got around 36.7 dBm. Harmonics at 2 meters, you can see we've got second harmonic around minus 46.6, which is good. And then at 70 centimeters, although the second harmonic is down at 47.9, which is good, 48 or so, the third harmonic is actually up at 38.2. So converting into watts for the 2 meters and 70 centimeters, we have 4.4 and 4.7 watts respectively. So how does the harmonic suppression compare with the Radtel 880 and 950 Pro? You can see that at 2 meters it's not quite as good as the 880 and 950 Pro, but still below the minus 40 dBc FCC limit. And at 70 centimeters, it's better than the RT880, but not quite as good as the 950 Pro. It's actually let down by the third harmonic, not the second harmonic. But do bear in mind, the antenna at the third harmonic is likely to be very inefficient, and in the real world case, not actually transmit much at that frequency anyway. So it's probably not a real world concern. Now, before we get into the review, a quick shout out to the sponsor of today's video, PCBWay. If you want to add a professional touch and repeatability to your projects, check out PCBWay. Now, I've used them for PCB prototyping, 3D printing, CNC machining, and I've always been impressed by their quality, affordability, and speed. They also provide a PCB assembly service, which is really handy for SMD devices, and specialize in advanced manufacturing, including flex, rigid, and HDI boards. A standout feature of their service is just how quick and easy their ordering process is. It is so simple and efficient. Just upload your Gerber files, select the key parameters and quantity, and they will give you an instant quote. Once ordered, you can then track your order's progress in almost real time with PCBWay's manufacturing status information. Join me in future project videos where I'll show you the whole process from start to finish. And between now and the end of December, check out PCBWay's Christmas deals, including free purple, matte black, and pink solder masks, 10% off transparent and Lido 3D materials, and up to $435 in coupons. For more information, visit PCBWay.com, and I'll leave a link in the description below. Right, now let's get into my favorite bit, the teardown. So at the top there, we've got a couple of normal crosshead screws. I think these two, the larger ones, are just for the belt clip. Probably don't need to remove those actually, but I'm going to do it anyway, just in case, while we're here. And then a couple of more smaller crosshead ones, which you can see they look like they're screwed into the chassis. I like how this radio feels actually in terms of its construction. It does feel so well manufactured and put together. Just got that kind of chic about it. And then we've got some torque screws at the bottom. And then of course we need to remove the knobs and screws at the top, or nuts I should say, the knob nuts. Is that the right term, knob nuts? I like it anyway. Just get that knob off. Might have to encourage that with the spludger, I think. Be careful not to mark the plastic. Come on, you can do it. There we are. Okay, so I've only got to remove the nut around the antenna port because the knob nut is actually underneath the plastic housing. I guess it must be just bolted to the chassis rather than the plastic housing. That's interesting. But you see not a lot in terms of IP, dust and water ingress prevention here. It's not like the Shanghai X that I recently took apart, which had excellent dust and moisture protection. But then it's a lot more expensive, so you get what you pay for, I guess. Alright, we should now be good to get the chassis out, I think. Yeah, I think so. Let's get the spludger, my favourite spludger. It's coming out quite easily. Come on, bit of encouragement. There we are. Okay, and just one cable, flat cable to the speaker, microphone and keyboard assembly. That's neat. That's better than the K5 actually. Do you remember the keyboard was integrated into the main PCB? Here it's separate. There's microphone, nicely soldered. Not like the TK11, that was a real dog's dinner. So I have to say the construction looks far, far superior than the TK11. So we've got brass inserts there for the screws. Another nice touch. I just released that flat cable. There we go. Okay, let's have a closer look at that case. I can't see any kind of like moisture protection. Then what do you expect? Big speaker there in the middle. That's why it sounds better than the K5. No screening on that flat cable there. You see you've got like a gasket around the screen there. Keep the dust and bits out. I'm surprised they didn't put any screening on that flat cable. Well, I guess they must have tested it and found they didn't need it. Let's have a look at the PCB. Okay, it's quite clean and simple this side. So what I see is that, just get in focus. So this is a BK1080, it's FM tuner IC. Probably replace that with an SI4732 when we hack it for shortwave later. This is a, oh, it's this friend again, 04S5196. You know what, I couldn't find anything on that in the Shanghai radio either. I think it might be a power management chip, but I'm not too sure. If you know, let me know in the comments. I'd be interested to know. So not a lot else going on here. Oh yes, there is. There's the flash chip. So that's a 25Q16. So that would be a 16 megabit flash memory. Much, much bigger than the old K5. What else have we got? I think we just got a few discretes there. Obviously the LED on top, which no doubt we'll be replacing for SMA for HF in the future. If the K5 is anything to go by, that is. Now let's take the screen off. Assuming you have to take the screen off to take the PCB off, that is, but I guess there's only one way to find out. A little tab there to release. There we go. Is there any screws under there? Not sure. Be really careful when you're doing this. It's so easy to tear the flat cable underneath it, and then it'll be buggered. Let me just see. Should just come off, I think. And there we are. Okay, so there's no screws under there, so actually you didn't need to take that off if you want to remove the PCB. Well, there you go. I mean, that's why I'm doing the teardown for you, right? You can see you got a couple of tabs there. Another one there. And what's that underneath? What's that hiding underneath? Okay, you got a soldered on ribbon cable. I wish they did a kind of a quick release. Wouldn't have cost much to do that. Let me see. LM, what is that? That looks like an audio amplifier. It's get it in focus. Come on. LM4898. It's a rather tasty looking 1 watt amplifier, but I notice it's only up to 5.5 volts operation. So they're either driving it and attaching it to the battery voltage and you get more than 1 watt, or it must be behind some sort of regulator, I guess. Well, that's a good amp. Right, now I think we can take the screws out and look on the other side, which I think is going to be more interesting. So just let me see, 4 crosshead screws. Okay, so it doesn't look like we have to desolder anything, so it should just come out with a bit of persuasion. Ah, okay, I forgot. There's that knob nut we need to undo. There you are, you see, we need to undo that knob nut first. Do that. Okay, it should now come off. Let's just have a look at the chassis first. That's interesting. There's only one heatsink pad, which tells me there's only one RF amplifier for both UHF and VHF. Well, the RF performance wasn't bad, despite that. Okay, that's interesting. Cost-saving measure I didn't expect to see. And resultingly, you can see the RF section is much simpler. You just see that one RF amplifier in there. I can't even see any markings on it. Now here at the core of the system, we have the microprocessor, which in this case is the 32F071C1BT6, which we can see here can run at 72 megahertz. Now compare that with the K5, which could only run at 48. Also on board we have 128 kilobytes of flash, whereas the previous K5 only had 64. And for RAM we've got 16 kilobytes, whereas the K5 only had 8. And remember that we've got a huge flash EEPROM as well, which is 16 megabits or 2 megabytes. So there's been a massive improvement in processing and memory performance. So let's hope that Quansheng has left the architecture open for programming by community software, so that the legacy of the hackability of the UV-K series will continue. Let's see. I'm sure we could do a lot with that extra processing performance and memory. And then let's have a look at the transceiver chip. Let's see what that is. And you got the usual suspect, the BK4829. I've covered that in many different radios previously. You want to have a look at my previous teardowns. So there we have the combined UHF and VHF power amplifier section with a single power amplifier in the middle there. I can't see any markings on it, unfortunately, but I guess that's like a 5 to 7 watt power amplifier. So then we got the LED volume and power switch, Kenwood jack connectors, inductor probably for a step down, voltage step down, USB-C power and data connector. I think that's pretty much it. Hopefully we'll have Quansheng leave this software architecture open so we can get some great community software, and perhaps we can get a SI4732 over in this gap here. Who knows? Then we can have shortwave reception. Let's see. So I'll leave a link in the description in case you want to buy one of these radios, and I'll also leave links to all of the tools that I've used in case you want to try doing the RF performance test yourself. In the meantime, please do help me out by subscribing to the channel. It means a lot and helps me bring more content like this to you. And in the meantime, take care and 73. I'll see you in the next one.